Hi everyone. Welcome to our part 2 of Auditing and Assurance RTP discussion. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for our friends to join in for us to start this session. Hi everyone. Let's wait for a minute more for our friends to join in so that we can kick off on the session. So what's new, guys? What's happening? What interesting thing happened between yesterday and today? So I was asking yesterday this question. The interesting thing is you being mentor. Who is that person? Chandru. Okay. Uh, revision. Waiting for ICI notification. All right. Mohan says, got some confidence, sir. Thank you. All right. Great. Okay. Friends, let's frustrating day by day. Okay. All right. Okay. Friends, now let's get started with our discussion. Integrated case scenario 2. Yesterday, we discussed in detail one case study where getting high BP. Hey, who is that? Durga Bhavani. When you have work ahead of you, you can do one of the two things. You can either think or worry. If you think, you get energized. If you worry, you start getting stressed. So I would encourage you to think about what best we can do in the, even if you feel you have little time. In that time, if you start worrying, you can't think. If you can't think, you can't move ahead, right? So stay cool, that's fine. Even if it is just 1 over and 25 runs to hit, remember we are in IPL times where all this is possible. Okay, so just stay cool, and I'm sure all of you will do very, very well in your examination. So what's important is stay cool and stay strategic, right? So it's important that we prepare smartly and we equip ourselves with enough tools and techniques to tackle the examination. And these sessions we will conduct more and more to make sure that you feel confident enough as you get into the examinations. All right, now let's take the next case, that is integrated case scenario 2. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, please have RTP in front of you. This is page 3. A partnership firm of chartered accountants, YZ and Associates, were appointed as auditors of company UB Private Limited. The financial year for which YZ and Associates were to audit books of accounts of UB Private Limited began on 1st April 2018 and ended on 31st March 2019. Okay. YZ and Associates consists of 4 partners: YZ, G, and H. While auditing books of account of UB Private Limited for the period beginning 1st April 2018 and ending 31st March 2019, one of the partners of XY and Associates, namely Mr. H, took up the expenses part for the purpose of audit. So till now, the full story, what you hear, there is a company for which YZ and Associates were the auditor, are reported as auditors for the year, and this person H took up the audit of expenses as a part of that audit. The management of UB Private Limited had adopted various accounting policies and principles related to expenses, which Mr. H, as auditor of UB Private Limited, was unable to understand. Some of the issues which Mr. H was unable to understand are mentioned as follows. So much of story. At some level, these integrated case studies are a test of your patience. You need to have patience as you're reading these. Power and fuel expenses paid for the months of April 19 and May 19 have been included and shown as power and fuel expenses for the period from April 2018 to March 2019. So basically, 2 months after the year ending, those expenses also came into the financial year for the purpose of accounting. Okay, which is not correct, right? So their expenses for the next period, they were paid, but even if you pay, you should show them as prepaid. They wrongly brought them as expenses of 2018-19 financial year, right? Then personal rent expenses of the son of one of the directors, Mr. T of UV Private Limited, have been shown as rent expenses of the business of UV Private Limited. Personal expense should not be shown as company expense. That's what happened here. Okay, right. Repairs and maintenance expenses for the months of February 19 and March 19 were still outstanding and were not shown in balance sheet of UV Private Limited. Right. So you should accrue them, but they haven't accrued them. That's the point. Repairs and maintenance expenses for the financial year 1st April 18 to 31st March 19 were very high as compared to financial year 17-18. The auditor H as the appropriate authority about the reasons for such huge difference in the amounts of 2 financial years. Okay. While verifying the insurance expense, basically they tried doing a sort of analytics. 17-18 financial year expense versus 18-19 financial year expense. So they find some significant difference. That's what it talks about. While verifying the insurance expense, insurance policies were not shown to auditor Mr. H. The above mentioned 5 points were some of the issues which Mr. H was unable to understand. Okay, right, friends? Just a mention. If you feel any other friends of yours will stand to gain from this revision session of RTPs, please share this link and get them to join the session sooner than later. Okay, now here are the cases. The first one, as per point 1 mentioned in the above case, power and fuel expenses paid for the months of April 19 and May 19 must be shown under asset side of balance sheet of UV Private Limited as on 31st March 19 as outstanding power and fuel expenses, prepaid power and fuel expenses, power and fuel expenses, power and fuel expenses payable. Friends, what do you think the answer is? ABCD. Quick, what do you think the answer is? Quickly shoot your responses in the chat. Venkatram says it is B. Swati Krishna says it is B. Are you sure it is B? Ganesh says it is power and fuel. We will not mention, is it power and fuel outstanding, prepaid, expense, nothing will mention. Ganesh is like, sir, I am the most intelligent person here. I'll simply say power and fuel. Now you want to add something, don't want to add, it is your fate. What, Mr. Ganesh? Prepaid. All right. Ganesh Reddy says it is D. Okay. Guys, quickly listen to the logic. Yes, most of you got it right. It is B, prepaid power and fuel. In 2018-19, we paid for 2 months of 19-20. So it is paid in advance. Basically, it is prepaid. Prepaid is an asset. It should appear in the asset side of balance sheet. So answer B is correct, right? Outstanding, payable. Is there any difference between A and D? Technically, not really. So outstanding or payable, both are fine. So they could have just gone into the liability side of balance sheet. Okay. Then power and fuel expense is something which would have gone into the P&L, right? So that is something which would have gone into the P&L in the expenses, right? Okay. Now come to the second question. As per point number 2 mentioned above in the case, what is point number 2? That son of managing the son of one of the directors, right? So rent expenditure of a son of director is shown as the business expense. Okay, right. Personal rent expense of son of one of the directors, look at the grammatical mistakes even in the material. One of the directors. When you say one of the, it should always be plural here, right? So one of the directors, Mr. T, were added to rent expenses of business of UV Private Limited. The amount of personal rent expense of son of director Mr. T must be, what should happen? Subtracted from rent expense of business of UV Private Limited, remain added to rent expense of business, again added to rent expense, subtracted twice from rent expense. What do you think we should do, guys? Come on, ABCD, fast, shoot your responses. All right, so most of you are saying it is A. A couple of them said it is C. Okay, friends, listen to this. The question says that the company paid that, and it already recorded it as a rent expense, right? So in the rent expense, so imagine there are 2 points: personal expenditure, company expenditure. Company expenditure should form part of rent expenditure. Personal expenditure should not form part. Something that should not form part, unfortunately, forms part of the rent expenditure. Then what should you do? Deduct it, right? Why should we deduct it twice? No, you don't have to, right? Add it to rent expense means you are saying company incurred somebody else's personal expenditure. They made mistake once. Are you encouraging them to do mistake twice so that the mistake will be corrected? No. So they added once. So to correct it, we need to subtract it. Okay. I hope Shirisha and Rajesh Reddy understood this answer. Okay, right. That is answer is A. Okay, right. Great. Let's move ahead. Many of you got it right. Fantastic. Keep going. As per point number 3 mentioned above in the case, repairs and maintenance expenses outstanding for the months of February 19 and March 19 must be shown under liability side of balance sheet of UV Private Limited. All right. Under what category? Prepaid repairs and maintenance, repairs and maintenance expense, repairs and maintenance paid in advance, repairs and maintenance payable. Friends, ABCD, shoot your responses. Go for it. Go fast. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, my dear Jacob, I think you kind of got it wrong. It is not repairs and maintenance expense. It is something which is, it's not prepaid, my friend. It is not prepaid. It is outstanding, payable. Okay. So payable is a liability. Paid in advance is an asset, right? It's a prepaid is an asset. Here, something is payable. So it is a liability, and it should be shown under basically that answer D, repairs and maintenance expense payable or outstanding repairs and maintenance expense. Both are okay. Fine. Right. Please come to point number 4, question number 4. As per point number 4 mentioned in the above case, the auditor, Mr. H, asked appropriate authority for reasons of huge differences in the amount of 2 financial years of repairs and maintenance expenses. By appropriate authority, Mr. H was referring to all employees of UV Private Limited, management of UV Private Limited, members of UV Private Limited, any one director of UV Private Limited. Come on, go for it. Shoot your responses. All right. Okay, great. I think this seems super straightforward. Everybody got it right. Okay, now let me slightly change this question. Okay, it looks a little too easy for you. Let me slightly change the options. What if the first option were instead of all employees of UV Private Limited? Excellent, excellent. All of you got it right. All of you got it right. Bang on. Right. Now listen. The first option, A, I'm just slightly changing it. Those charged with governance. B, managing director of UV Private Limited. C, members. D, any one of the director. Okay, right. what would your response be? What would your response be? All right. So here, management of UV you find here, but listen, those charged with governance is a more accurate answer. Fine. So management is what we generally loosely call it as, but those charged with governance is a more accurate answer. If that option is available, please go for it. Okay. That is something we need to have at the back of our mind. All right. Now let's one. As per point 5 mentioned in the above case, in verifying insurance expenses, the insurance policies would provide auditor H as invalid supporting, valid no supporting, lack of proper supporting, valid supporting. Go for it. So the problem is insurance policies were not provided to the auditor. If they were provided to the auditor, what would have happened is is what we are trying to answer. So basically the thing is insurance policies were not provided to the auditor. Okay, there's something called verifying insurance expense. Now read the question again. As per point number 5 mentioned in the above case, in verifying insurance expenses, the insurance policies would provide auditor Mr. H what? Right? Insurance policies would provide auditor Mr. H what? Invalid supporting, no supporting, lack of proper supporting, valid supporting. We have B, 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 D, D, B, C, B, D, 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 D. We are all over the place again. I love such questions. All right. Okay. Okay. My dear friends, just understand the logic clearly. It's basically a game with English what the examiner is trying to play. You have to read the question carefully. In verifying insurance expense, okay, stop responding. Now listen to what our explanation is. In verifying insurance expenses, insurance policies would have provided auditor what? So having insurance policy would have given auditor what? Having insurance policy, management providing insurance policy would have provided the auditor no supporting. But having insurance policy, how can it provide no supporting? Having insurance policy will provide valid supporting. Okay, so that way the answer is D. Okay, so just it looks like an easy question, right? So basically what management has done is they provided no supporting. If you think about it, management, because they did not provide insurance policies, their action resulted in no supporting. I agree with you, but having insurance policies provided to auditor will give the auditor valid supporting. So that is how the examiner is trying to play with English. Okay, right. So I hope we understood that. Okay, now let's move to friends. Are we comfortable with this integrated case study? Can I quickly move on to MCQs not based on case scenarios? Yeah, great. Okay, right. So please come to this, friends. Just below that we have Messrs. KYC and Co. is a reputed audit firm in Mumbai. They are appointed as statutory auditors of Blessed Limited. Which of the below is the responsibility of Messrs. KYC and Co? Which of the below is the responsibility of Messrs. KYC? Who is KYC? The auditor of Blessed Limited. Okay. So what is their responsibility? What is the responsibility of auditor? Basically, the question is, what is the responsibility of auditor? Preparation of financial statements. I think it is this. Designing, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls. Oh, I think it is definitely this. Reporting on true and fair view of financial statements. It might be this. Compliance with applicable laws and regulations. 100% it is this. This is such an easy question. Now you are beyond getting confused. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Nobody on the planet can confuse you. All right. So let's move to the next one. Mr. A, auditor, and Mr. B, finance manager. Done. Excellent, friends. You got it right. Let's move to the next one. So answer is C. Mr. A, auditor, and Mr. B, finance manager of XYZ Private Limited are friends. Nice. Mr. A prepares the audit report according to the wishes and directions of Mr. B because Mr. B is tying a friendship band. Oh, sorry, that last part is not there. In this situation, which essential quality of the auditor has been compromised? Professional competence, independence, professional skepticism, due care. Shoot your answers. Shoot your answers. Lovely, lovely, lovely. This is the kind of confidence, right? So think about it. Yesterday you were so tentative when you were responding. Today I find all of you that much more comfortable and confident while responding. That's the way to go, guys. Excellent. Right. So so that's basically independence. Let's move to the next one. How do you feel? How do you feel being able to respond to answer questions well? How do you feel? How is the Josh? How is the Josh in the hall? All right. Okay. Now, let's go to the next one. Mr. Salman is right. Lovely. Come on, let's keep going. Let's keep building on this momentum. Mr. Salman is an engagement partner of Khan & Co. Chartered Accountants for an audit of Lava Limited. He died of a stroke on 30th of September 2019 after completing the entire routine audit work of Lava Limited. Mr. Shoaib, one of the partners of Khan & Co., will be signing the accounts of Lava Limited. So basically, the partner the engagement partner, after completing the audit, died. Okay, just imagine what kind of financials that person had to see. That person got heart stroke. Okay, right. And then one of the partners of the firm will be signing the accounts of Lava Limited. What is the course of action to be taken by Mr. Shoaib? A. Sign the accounts of Lava Limited without reviewing the work of his partner. Sign the balance sheet after reviewing the work of his partner. Withdraw the audit as person who has performed the work is no more. Issue an adverse report. What do you think? Option E, sir. Kill the client now. Kill the company, Lava Limited. Then there is no need to issue. Huh? B. Oh, aha. Fantastic. Guys, you are just amazing. You're on a song. I so much love the energy and so much love the authority that you are expressing by answering it correctly, swiftly. Great. So, yes, that person can sign, but that person has to review the work of his partner. Great. Now, let's look at the next one. Auditor compares gross profit ratio with that of previous year, and it is discovered that there has been a fall in the ratio. This is an example of analytical procedures, test of controls, walkthrough test, audit sampling. Oh my God! Look at the answers. Look at the answers. Phenomenal. Yes, this is analytics, ratios, comparing ratios and all, analytics. Okay, right. Shravan Kumar is like, hey, why the hell are you wasting time? Go ahead, is what Shravan Kumar is saying. Okay, thank you, sir. I'll go ahead, sir. Okay, right. While conducting the audit of Saraswati Limited, a packaged water making company, it was found that a purchase of motor car was made in the name of the company. Your article assistant has performed the following audit procedures. Identify which of the following procedures is incorrect. Some English correction. Ascertain whether the purchase of car has been properly authenticated. Check invoice of the car dealer to confirm purchase price. Examine registration with transport authorities to verify the ownership. Ensure that motor car has been included in the closing inventory of goods. Okay, there are 4. So which of the 4 following is wrong? Shravan Kumar says A. Somebody says B. A, B, D, A, B, D, A, B, D are the answers that we see everywhere. A, B, D are the answers that we see everywhere. Okay. Shravan Kumar, you asked me to quickly come to this question. And how can you answer that question wrongly? Come on, tell me. Right. See, look at this. When the company purchased a car, by ascertain the purchase of car has been properly authenticated, means somebody gave permission to purchase the car. Is that something you will verify as an auditor? Right? The watchman should not say, we need a car for the company, and the company buys a car, right? So that doesn't make sense. So it should have been properly authenticated. So A cannot be the answer. And somebody was saying B is the answer. B is the wrong answer. Check invoice of the car dealer to confirm purchase price. How else will you check the purchase price? Right? So the final price at which the asset was acquired, you will know only by verifying the invoice. So that also makes sense, right? And if you look at the point number D, ensure that motor car has been included in the closing inventory of goods. Now, can car ever form part of closing inventory of goods? My answer to you all, can motor car ever form part of closing inventory of goods? Can motor car ever form part of closing inventory of goods? When can it form part of closing inventory of goods? I'll flip the question. When can it form? Wonderful. So I think Achu N has given the answer. In case of a car dealer, right? In case of a car dealer, yes, that's right. In case of a car dealer, car forms part of closing inventory of goods. But for others, it is not something part of closing inventory of goods. Excellent, right? So considering that answer D is the wrong procedure that the article has carried out. Are we clear about this? Right. Excellent. So we already covered yesterday these points. So I'm just quickly scrolling down, and I think we covered. Yeah. Yesterday we covered chapter 1. Chapter 1 questions were done yesterday. So let us quickly come to chapter 2 questions. All right. So friends, I'm moving to chapter 2 questions. Please come to page number 7, chapter 2 questions. Okay. Right. Look at the question 4A. The auditor shall plan the nature, timing, and extent of direction and supervision of engagement team members and the review of their work. The nature, timing, and extent of the direction and supervision of engagement team members and review of their work vary depending on many factors. Okay. Explain, giving examples. Again, friends, I told you yesterday, if it is a 4 marks question, roughly how much time do we have to respond? What is the thumb rule we took yesterday? If you have a question, if you just say examples, will you keep writing examples forever? How much time do we have to respond to a question? Yes, 1.5 minutes, 1.5, not per minute, per mark, right? So per mark, 1.5 minutes per mark is a simple thumb rule I take, so that, maybe just you can round it off here and there, but that will ensure that you are largely on the timelines when you are dealing with your exams. See, those people who just keep complaining, so in exam, time is not enough. Time is not enough for those who are not mindful of time. Time is enough for those who smartly think about, oh, it's a 4 marks question, I roughly have 6 minutes of time. It's a 6 marks question, I roughly have 9 minutes of time. So if you have this consciousness, then you will pace your answers accordingly, and you will write only to that level of detail. Okay, right. So friends, what I would suggest is take 2 factors. So what is it saying? The auditor shall plan the nature, timing, and extent and direction and supervision of engagement team members and review of their work. The nature, timing, and extent of direction and supervision of engagement team members and review of work varies depending on many factors. What are some of the factors you can think of, right? If you think about them, the nature of business will determine the factors. Like, then the complexity of business will determine the kind of time what the work would take and the kind of complexity. Then past understanding of fraud risk factors, key risk areas, risk of material misstatement. Good point, right? So that's the point I was referring to, risk of material misstatement. So depending on that, you can talk about it. Auditor, inherent risk. Good point, right? Then so you cannot pick up all of them, right? So what I would suggest is, depending on the time, just pick up 2 or 3 and just write one sentence. Just don't mention those words and leave. Just pick those words and write one sentence each about those, so that the examiner understands that this answer we wrote out of our understanding, not just out of randomly remembering some words and writing. Okay, right, good. So that should be enough. You can just take any 2-3 examples and write. That should do, right? Come to the next one. Auditor shall document the overall audit strategy, the audit plan, and significant changes made to the overall audit strategy or the audit plan. Explain in detail, giving examples. See, this seems to be one new trend of asking questions. They just pick up one phrase from the standard and say, explain, right? Now, what do you mean by that? So, planning documents, then basically you will have, planning documents and what is this exam status? Guys, come on, let's please ask questions which will be relevant to this discussion. Other points, as I said, please ask in the help desk, or our team at IndigoLearn will respond to you with respect to the other things. Okay, right. So basically, again, friends, the audit. Thanks, Deepak. Auditor shall document the overall audit strategy, audit plan, and any significant changes. So just think about it. What changes can happen once the audit starts? There is a new risk found. Then will the audit plan change? Will the audit focus change? Will the strategy change? Yes, right? So that can be one example. Then as the audit starts, you realize that the company has a problem with regulation, complaints with laws and regulations related problem we noticed. That can result in changing. Or going concern questions were noticed. Going concern questionability indicators were noted. That again changes the approach what the auditor might be taking, right? So again, friends, you can just keep going on and on. Your audit plan can change. As a CA student, we know once we make a plan, how many times our plan changes, right? So our exam plan, I hope you do have one. I truly hope you do have one. If you don't, please do it tonight before you sleep. You have to have a plan for your examinations. And that plan should be super duper focused on your marks. How many marks am I getting from that topic? So much time I will give to that topic. So it is a simple thumb rule. I would encourage you to think about it. And if you're already comfortable with something, then you can say, okay, I don't need 5 days for it. Even though as per marks, I'm allotting 5 days. I'm just giving away some days to some other topic because I'm comfortable. But please do plan, and that is really critical. And friends, one other thing in the context, you will thank me for this advice if you really follow. As you are preparing, you should have a one-pager. You should have a one-pager. For what? Exactly 1 day before your exam, how will you spend time? Which topic will get how much time? For each subject, not just auditing, for every subject. How much time am I going to spend for each topic? What are the questions which I will definitely go through, right? You should have a list of it. And 1 day before exam, see, that's the kind of thoughtfulness which will make which will differentiate those people who prepare in an ordinary way versus those who prepare in an extraordinary way. Okay, so you have to necessarily pick up necessarily have a thorough plan as to, okay, this is the 2-pager. I will just start, okay, for this topic I have 1 hour, for this topic I have half an hour. I just see that, prepare, that 1 day before exam. That kind of thoughtfulness really helps. Okay, so a little 1-minute digression from this RTP, but I'm sure this is a valuable insight. Okay, right. Okay, now let's move ahead. I hope you understood, friends. Plan can change because of multiple reasons. And again, as I said, just pick up a couple of examples and talk about those examples. That should do. Right. Okay, now let's talk about question number 5. Involving one audit program applicable to all businesses under evolving one audit program applicable to all businesses under all circumstances is not practicable. Explain clearly, stating in detail the meaning of audit program. So you will talk about the meaning of audit program. That is already there in our curriculum. I don't have to talk about the meaning of audit program. Right now, one program does not fit everybody. Right. Just for instance, the plan, what we are talking about, the plan for a subject like auditing could be different from the plan for a subject like accounting, right? So they may require a different plan. Similarly, in the context of auditing, an audit program for a small company could be different from an audit program for a large company compared to that for a medium company. The audit program for a company which is in cement business could be different from that compared to a business which is completely digital, right? So, for example, the auditor of IndigoLearn might have a very different audit program compared to the auditor of an institute. So, we might be providing education for finance and accounting digitally. Our auditor may have a different audit program compared to an auditor of an institution which is fully physical, right? So, the type of business also changes. The kind of technological involvement also changes. So considering those, the audit program cannot just be like a cookie cutter, which is one size fits all. It has to consider the size and nature of business. That's why we keep emphasizing, considering the size and nature of business, we plan the audit program, or we kind of arrive at the audit program. Okay. So again, just take a couple of examples and talk about it. That should do. Right. Then look at this B bit. See, friends, I really want you to listen to these points carefully, because when you see these questions for the first time in the exam, you should have some context, you should have some preparation. How do I approach them? So that's what we are largely trying to discuss in these sessions. In most of the assertions, much of the evidence be drawn, and each one should be considered and weighed to ascertain its weight to prove or disprove the assertion. An auditor picks up evidence from a variety of fields, analyze and explain with the help of examples. It is a question which is, I would say, badly drafted. Basically, what they are trying to test you is which assertion holds good in, basically one assertion cannot give you comfort on all the aspects, right? Some assertions can give you comfort on some, and some assertions can give you comfort on some other aspects. So how do you pick and choose those assertions? Let us take an example. Existence, right? So existence, if you talk about, you want to do physical verification of assets. Existence will, by doing physical verification, you get comfort on existence, right? Now, if you look at different assertions, some procedures may give you comfort on some of the aspects. Let's take an example. Debtors. Receivables is the area of accounting what we are trying to do. Please concentrate carefully. Receivables is the area of auditing that we are trying to do. For receivables, we have different assertions which we want to check. Existence or occurrence. Then we have existence or occurrence. Then the accuracy. Then completeness, valuation, rights and obligations. Like this, you have different assertions. For those assertions, if you want comfort on existence of that debtor relationship, right? What procedure you might perform? You might perform the procedure of obtaining direct balance confirmation, right? Similarly, when it comes to something like accuracy, one could be from the balance confirmation. The other one could be also from the debtor account. By doing a scrutiny of debtor account, you can get comfort. Then, for example, valuation. Valuation, you may understand if there is a bad debt, right? by also looking at the correspondence with the lawyers of the company. That also helps you understand if there is any bad debt, there is anybody with whom we are if there is anybody with whom we are fighting. So those things you can understand from that. So basically, to get comfort on an assertion, you kind of do some if on debtors. One might be external confirmation from debtor, one might be external confirmation from a lawyer, one might be ledger scrutiny, one might be just checking the cutoff, and so on, right? So different things. So you can't say one step will address everything, but you require different procedures. Similarly, if you talk about sales, an invoice can give you comfort on some aspects. In invoice, if you have the name of the company, that can give you comfort on say the ownership rights and obligations. Basically, on the ownership of that, you will get comfort. So that way, basically, friends, to understand this question better, I encourage people to just go back and refer to vouching and verification chapter that we have done. Okay, so in that we have discussed in detail how all the steps that we do in auditing primarily should address one of the assertions. Okay, and not every assertion gets addressed by every step. So you have a list of things that you do to make sure you are addressing all those assertions. Okay, right. Then audit documentation evidence. An important factor in determining the form, content, and extent of audit documentation of significant matters is the extent of professional judgment exercised in performing work and results and evaluating the results. Explain stating clearly the examples of significant matters. Friends, what do you mean by significant matters? Where risk is high, you will clearly consider that to be significant. If something will affect your report, ultimately, that will be considered as a significant matter. If there is something which will affect the financial statements, balance sheet, P&L, or the notes to accounts, right, that will be considered significant. Like this, you can say these are some examples of aspects which are significant. So for those areas, you have to make sure the audit documentation is happening. Yes, very high risk and effect on report. Good, Nisha. That is a good way to think about it. Friends, the overarching point, please remember, for most of these questions, where our answers lie? Audit comfort bucket and assertions. I hope you remember when we do the vouching chapter, we talk about audit comfort bucket, and when you come to test of details, we quickly go to all the assertions and check those assertions, right? So what is the objective? Audit, again, when you go to audit flowchart, our objective is to issue an appropriate opinion, right? So to issue an appropriate opinion, you're trying to do different things. You're basically trying to get adequate audit comfort. So for that, you have audit comfort bucket, and there you have all the assertions. So you need to take those, understand the concept, and apply it into the examination, right? Sufficiency is the measure of the quantity of audit evidence. The quantity of audit evidence needed is affected by auditor's assessment of risks of material or risks of misstatement, and also by quality of such audit evidence. Obtaining more audit evidence, however, may not compensate for its poor quality. Explain also stating the factors affecting auditor's judgment as to sufficiency of audit evidence. Friends, when will auditor say, I'm fine, this, I got the, my audit evidence, what I got is acceptable. So when will, what is the how will auditor get comfort on the number? So what are the factors, what are the factors which affect the auditor selection of, should I do more work or is it enough? I'm repeating, should I do more work or is this enough? What is the first and foremost thing? Can you quickly think about it and shoot some points here in the chat section? Wow, that's so bang on. Risk, right? So what is the risk? What is the materiality, right? What is the risk? What is the materiality? What is the size of population, right? Great, fantastic. Prakhyat, that's bang on. And yes, very good. So risk, materiality, and size of population are the three large main points what we bear in mind. I'm very happy that you're able to think about those points. Friends, that is why it's more important than ever. For this kind of examination questioning, it's not difficult. Trust me, it's not difficult. But it's more intuitive. You can't answer these out of by hearting. You can answer these if you understood those. That is why our IndigoLearn's methodology of conceptual understanding is becoming more and more important. And the new way of questioning that Institute has introduced is going to be more and more beneficial to students like you who are caring to put that effort. Remember, thinking is hard. By hearting is easy. Thinking is hard. By hearting is easy. But thinking is fun. By hearting is a pain, right? So we have to make those right choices, right? What are those right choices? Something which is fun, even if it is hard, is a right choice, right? So please think about these answers and apply yourself. Okay, come on, let's move to the next one. There are specific accounting and disclosure requirements for related party relationships, transactions, and balances to enable users of financial statements to understand their nature and effects on the financial statements. Explain in detail, stating clearly the auditor's responsibility in the above context. Okay. Friends, when you talk about this, what is auditor's responsibility regarding related party transactions? Quickly go to AS 18. AS 18, Accounting Standard 18, talks about the related party disclosures what the management has to give. I'm repeating, it talks about the related party disclosures what the management has to give. So what you as an auditor will check, first and foremost, did management comply with the disclosure requirements for related parties as required by Accounting Standard 18? Okay, in the financial statements, have they followed? So have they followed? Auditor verifying, that is what our SA 550 talks about. Okay, right, you will, that is the first and foremost thing what you will talk about. So AS 18 read with SA 550. AS 18 management should follow. SA 550 auditor will use to check whether management has done what they're supposed to do or not. Then evidence, basically again you have to check whether these transactions are genuine. Is there any, because remember, why do we care so much about related party transactions? These are high risk areas, right? There is a possibility for frauds and errors because these are all within the same management. There is a possibility for frauds and errors. So being sure that the transactions happened at an arm's length price, and management, whether management overrided the controls, right? Is there any management override of controls? That also we need to check. But all said and done, there is an inherent limitation here. If management really wants to defraud, they can still defraud. But as an auditor, we need to do our best, because it's a clear high risk area. You have to do your best to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, right. Friends, as I go through the other questions, I also want to hear from you regarding auditing and accounting group 1 and group 2. What are the other areas where you feel you want these revision sessions, right? So please, this 1 hour 1 hour 15 minutes webinars, what are the topics for which you feel you want these webinar sessions, live sessions? Please just think through these and shoot your responses. I'm not guaranteeing that everything that you say we will be able to accommodate, but definitely your input will be considered in our planning. All right. Okay. Next, come to the next question, friends. The nature and timing of the audit procedures to be used may be affected by fact that some of the accounting data and other information may be available only in electronic form or only at certain points in time or periods in time. Explain with the help of examples. Friends, basically if you talk about invoices, right? If they are purchase invoice, sales invoice, etc., if something is physically available, the kind of audit procedure could be different. If it is available only digitally, something like in our classes we spoke about it, it is available, Make My Trip sells, or Book My Show sells all their goods only electronically, and when electronic sale happens, the invoices and the audit evidence is electronic. So in such case, the whole audit procedure will be around, it's more about EIS environment, right? So in that environment, you have to plan your audit procedures, and it is important. See, look at one point here. If it is available only at certain points in time, then it becomes more important to look at the data retention policies of the company. So, the companies have to maintain data for a certain period of time. So making sure that the company is maintaining the data is and verifying that becomes another important point. Okay, so just keep posting your responses. We will take track, or we'll take note of those. I will not respond to those right now, so but I will take note of that after the webinar is over. Okay, right. Look at the next question. A higher level of assurance may be sought about operating effectiveness of controls when the approach adopted consists primarily of test of controls. Explain and also state when will the auditor design and perform test of controls to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to the operating effectiveness. Okay, I just want you to respond. Can you see and hear me clearly? I just got an unstable internet alert. Can you see and hear me clearly? Can somebody quickly respond so that I can proceed? Yep. All right, great. Thanks. Got it. Okay. So the purpose of controls is to ensure that we... Okay, in between it was. All right, okay. So the purpose of controls is to prevent frauds and errors from happening. If they happen, early detection. That is the purpose. So test of controls will give you comfort on how strongly the management has the capability to prevent and do early detection of fraud and error, right? So reliance on test of controls is required for assertions, because we learned in our classes, by the way, by no stretch of imagination, these small sessions, what we do, are a substitute for the detailed classes. These are only revision sessions. I think our expectation should be clear, right? So we learned why controls are so important in organizations, and test of controls is a critical thing for an auditor, because even if you verify 10,000 invoices, you can't get comfort from test of details unless the company has proper controls in place, right? So test of controls will give auditor comfort on the assertions. And remember, friends, substantive procedures, I would say, alone are not enough. Substantive procedures alone are not enough unless you get comfort on controls. Depending on, okay, I'll start this sentence, you will complete this sentence. Auditor carries out compliance procedures, test of controls, and depending on the level of comfort from control testing, the auditor blank, fill the sentence. Auditor carries out test of controls, and depending on the level of comfort from level of comfort obtained from test of controls, the auditor, complete the sentence. The auditor what? Auditor carries out substantive procedures. Okay, Swati Krishna said decide substantive procedures. I want some more fine-tuning to that. It's a very, very important framing that you need to get comfort on. I will just type it out here, and let's remember this drafting carefully. Depending on the level of comfort from test of controls, the auditor decides the nature, timing, and extent of substantive procedures. Okay, so all right, auditor. Okay, so friends, just get this frame correct, because you keep using this a lot of times in your auditing exam. So depending on the level of comfort from test of controls, the auditor decides the nature, timing, and extent of substantive procedures. Okay, right. Come on, let's move to the next one. I hope everybody is clear about this now. I hope this is a familiar sentence for nobody who attended our classes. This sentence should be new. We saw this, we heard this, n number of times, right? Okay. I think the next question is, when more persuasive audit evidence is needed regarding effectiveness of controls, it may be appropriate to increase the extent of testing of controls as well as degree of reliance on controls. Okay, so look at this. It's an interesting question. When more persuasive audit evidence is needed regarding effectiveness of controls, you want more comfort regarding controls. Okay, then what do? Right, then basically what kind of things do you do as an auditor? You increase the frequency of testing, you increase the period covered, or you change the period covered for testing, you change the materiality or acceptable level of deviation. Basically the acceptable level of deviation or errors you will suitably change, and you will also corroborate with the controls. Okay, right, fine. Okay, now there is one direct question. I'll not talk about it in detail. Risk of material misstatement at financial statement level means it is pervasive. At assertion level means it is at account balance level. We have our list of assertions. This is a direct question, so I'm not talking about that in detail. Okay, then basically the answer to that is directly available in our material, so you can just look at that. For the purpose of identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement, the auditor shall identify risks. For the purpose of identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement, the auditor shall identify risks throughout the process of obtaining an understanding of the entity and its environment. Explain in detail along with other relevant points. Friends, this, how do you respond to this? For the purpose of identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement, the auditor shall identify risks throughout the process of obtaining an understanding of the entity and its environment. Okay, so how do you get that? You have to understand, you have to basically do something called walkthrough. Do you guys remember this phrase, walkthrough? Walkthrough testing means what? Following or basically shadowing a transaction from beginning to end, starting to end, till basically financial statements. Okay, that walkthrough you will do. Then assess the risk at financial statement level and at assertion level, and aggregation of possible material misstatements. See, small misstatements sometimes we overlook, but those small misstatements when aggregated, you may say, oh wow, these are just, I lost half mark. The total of half marks that I lost are 20, right? So that suddenly when aggregated probably might look like a big number. Okay, right, then quickly look at the next question. Much of the information obtained by auditor inquires is obtained from management. See, this is again straightforward point, friends. This question, again, you kind of get this information from board of directors, audit committees, internal auditors, external auditors, external consultants, right? External consultants, sales teams, risk teams. So basically, do you talk only to one person in the company to get understanding of the audit? No, you talk to different levels of authority, right? So what are the different levels of authority? You may talk to the management, you talk to management like board of directors, in-house legal experts, correct, right? Then internal auditors, sales teams, risk management teams. Like this, you talk to a range of people. And, in fact, I'll tell you, IT team, yes, I agree. So you talk to IT personnel. There are sometimes key issues that you may identify by talking to people at the top level. Sometimes you get to know about key frauds and key problems by talking to people who are at the entry level in the companies, maybe because they don't know how to polish the answers that they have to give to the auditors. So please don't underestimate the conversations that you do even with the entry level team members in the companies. Okay, right. Analytical procedures performed as risk assessment procedures may identify aspects of entity of which auditor was unaware and may assist in assessing the risks of material misstatement in order to provide a basis for designing and implementing responses. Again, what is this? So you talk about analytical procedures. What kind of things can we do? Friends, understand the question carefully. It's an interesting question. Analytical procedures performed as risk assessment procedures may identify aspects of entity of which the auditor was unaware and may assist in assessing risk of material misstatement in order to provide basis for designing and implementing responses. What kind of analytics can you do? Financial ratios and non-financial ratios. Something like number of vehicles that we used for transportation versus sales value, right? That can be one kind of analytics. Number of people versus the payroll. That could be financial to non-financial ratios, right? Then you may use some other ratio analysis. Yes, Nisha is talking about ratios. So such things we use for this purpose, right? Then friends, this chapter 5 related questions. So actually chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, those are super straightforward. Things like these are pretty similar, like statutory procedures, what we need to follow when you notice frauds. Those are standard procedures. So we already spoke about it, right? So when the auditor notices frauds, what should you do? You within 2 days, you have to communicate to the board of directors and give them 45 days time to respond as to what those frauds are. And if the board responds, then within 15 days of that, you have to send a response communication to central government, in ADT 4 with registered post acknowledgement due. And if the board doesn't respond within 45 days, indicating that the board or audit committee has not responded, you have to board has not responded, you have to send a communication to the central government. So basically that procedure I discussed in detail in our classes. So that question is asked. Audit in automated environment, audit sampling analytics. These are super straightforward points, friends. There is nothing tricky. So I wanted to spend time discussing this. Wherever there are some special or tricky points. Okay. Now just come to this. Please come to page number 10. Everybody, please come to page number 10. Come to company audit points. Okay. Company audit. Question number 22. At AGM of HDB Private Limited, Mr. R was appointed as statutory auditor. He, however, resigned after 3 months since he wanted to pursue his career in banking sector. The board of directors appointed Mr. L as statutory auditor in board meeting within 30 days. Comment. Come on, quick. What is this, first of all? Do you agree with what happened here? What happened here, and what do you agree with what happened here? That's my question. Come on, keep shooting your answers fast. There is resignation by a resignation of auditor. A resignation of auditor will lead to what? Resignation of auditor will lead to what? Will lead to casual vacancy. Good. So it leads to casual vacancy. So who can fill this casual vacancy? Who can fill this casual vacancy on account of resignation? Who can fill this casual vacancy on account of resignation? But is a general meeting required? Is a general meeting approval required? Guys, think about it. This is casual vacancy due to resignation. Is a general, yes, right? So we have to convene a general meeting also. So general meeting is required. So basically, in this question, what is missing? The general meeting, after the recommendation of board, basically general meeting has to approve it, right? So that is what is missing here. So board did their job, but general meeting did not. General meeting point is not here. So please highlight that has to come in, right? And also the resigning auditor has to. Does the resigning auditor have any responsibility? Is there any special thing that the resigning auditor has to do? Is there anything that the resigning auditor also has to do? Within 30 days, resigning auditor also has something. Yes, only with ROC. Kishore, is it only with ROC? File only with ROC? Is it only with ROC? See, these are the kind of finishing touches that we require, right? So with company and ROC, okay, right. Then let's right, no, with company also. Good, right. Let's move to the next question. So friends, in company audit, questions look easy to answer them. We spent a lot of time in our classes. Those who are still unsure about it, please go back and refer to our company's audit module. It's a very important topic. We spent a lot of time on all these small areas where people can get confused. Okay, right. Let's look at question 23. Message: ABC and Co is an audit firm having partners A, B, and C. The firm has been offered the appointment as an auditor of XYZ for the financial year 1920. Mr. D, the relative of CA, Mr. A, is holding 25,000 shares, face value 10 each, in XYZ Limited, having market value 90,000. Are Messrs. ABC and Co qualified to be appointed as auditors of XYZ Limited? Okay. What do you think? What is the what is the disqualification criteria say? If there is a disallowed, don't say disallowed here, disqualified. Okay, when does disqualified? If members or their relatives, if partners or their relatives hold shares of the company, then the firm is disqualified from being appointed. But what is the exception to that rule? Face value less than or equal to 1 lakh for relative does not disqualify. Good, Harish. Okay, so if the relatives have shares having face value less than or equal to 1 lakh, then there is no disqualification. Here 25,000 only, no. So should there be a problem? Or some 90,000? Should there be a problem? It is still less than 1 lakh. I think there is no problem. So there is no disqualification. The answer is no disqualification. Is that right? Kunal is like, yes sir, correct, you're right. Prakhyat got it right. Sonam, Kushi, Gupta, yes, very good, right? Face value should be less than or equal to 1 lakh. Here, face value is 25,000 into 10. 25,000 into 10. 2,50,000 is a face value. Market value 90,000 doesn't matter, right? Face value is what you need to consider for this. So this appointment is disqualified. Okay, that is what you need to summarize. Okay, right. Then friends, you have a few more straightforward questions from chapter 11, 12, and 13. These are super straightforward. There is no tricky element here. So that's pretty much a wrap on our discussion of RTPs. Friends, as I already said, please share your thoughts on what topics you require special revision sessions like this on, and we will plan them suitably. Some of them at least will plan suitably. Okay, right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, and good luck for all your prep. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.